What's good, y'all? We back. It's your boy ARP and this is Sorry It's True podcast. Y'all see the title, right? Little Durk still in hot water over murder for hire case. All right. There's a lot of misconceptions going around the internet. There's a lot that's true. There's a lot that's, just throwing it out there without actually going through it. I want us to go through the paperwork. I want us to take a look at the exhibits, and I want us to also break down some of the backstory of how Little Durk got to this point as far as these type of reports coming out, like one, for example, that I have here up on the screen right now. But real quick, briefly, I do want to say shout out to everybody that was patient for a hot second. We was away for a couple days. I had a little small quick 3.5 day trip, you know what I'm saying? So we back now. Saw a couple tweets, one or two DMs. Yo, what's going on with the podcast? I don't be trying to go live from different locations and all that. This is the setup. This is where we can do it the right way. So we back in mode, okay? So yeah, I'm kicking it off with Little Durk, and I owe y'all a bunch of topics that we're going to catch up on starting today as well. Okay, so we back to work. All right, Little Durk. Now, when I talk about these updates that's going around, that I want us to actually go through the paperwork and break down and really, really interpret this post right here that I'm going to put on a big screen. There's a lot of these. For example, this one comes from Chicago Hits 3. Shout out to Chicago Hits 3. Let's read the caption. It says Chicago's, so I believe that's the attorney of USA, right? AUSA, that's the prosecution side, has told the judge in Little Durk LA murder for hire case that they will not be charging Little Durk in murder for hire of Stephen Mack. Stephanie Forrest, who worked for BOP for 21 years, states that although Little Durk is violating rules by engaging in three-way calls, it is not criminally motivated. She also states that Little Durk has not been given any incident reports regarding this violation, so BOP must not believe it is a serious offense. Durk also has bond hearing tomorrow, which I believe is today. I think that this came out, 19 hours ago, it says. So the bond hearing is today. This is, I believe, his third attempt at going for bond. His bond package might have been moved up to like $5 million at this point. We know he's got the release terms with the security team. He's got real estate put up, cash put up. So it's not his bond package that has been keeping him in jail this whole time. It's been the terms around his charges, the murder for hire, etc. The phone infractions came in during the last update. That's what some of the things that they were using, saying that he was breaking those rules, right? That's pretty much what you see in this caption, though. Breakdown from the BOP as it relates to the phone infractions. And we're going to get into the actual paperwork of that. But when you see that first line, once again, let's reread that. AUSA has told the judge in Little Durk LA murder for hire case that they will not be charging Little Durk a murder for hire of Stephen Mack. I didn't see that. I did not see that. That would be great for Little Durk if that was the actual update. So here's the thing, and I'm pretty sure when we get to the actual read, it's going to stay consistent, because all I do this live with y'all. I find the paperwork, I do a quick skim to make sure, this is what we're looking for, and then I cut the stream on and we get to work. All right, but I'm pretty sure one thing that's about to happen when we get to the reads is that there's a difference between a ruling versus, let's say, indirect speculation. And the reason why I believe that this is indirect, it still has weight. I still understand why these reports came out. It's not no people, somebody just trolled and made this title up and then it went viral. No, it has legs. But I believe that the reason why there's indirect speculation for this to be a title or news reporting all of a sudden is because it's tied to the way his defense team is going after his bond and his bail attempt. What do I mean by that? We're going to go through all that. I'm going to break that down for you, okay? But before we go through that, let's talk about some of the backstory with Stephen Mack or Stephen Mack. Remember, there's two situations. One in which Durk is actually charged with, okay? That is the alleged murder for hire, that's the Beverly Hills shooting of Quando Rondo's cousin, okay? That's the one allegedly where they got the text messages, don't put my name on no flights. Allegedly, they went to the spot out there, bought the ski mask. People speculated as well, saying that Brick Baby was the one that put Durk on gave the drop to Quando and his cousin. They got pictures of, the truck of that Quando was in actually being tailed by like two cars. I believe that's where like the not the terroristic charge or whatever, but the damn, when you actually like are hunting somebody. There was another charge that came up about that, and we saw that in the paperwork a couple weeks ago. In any event, that's that shooting, right? What happened was they rounded up the 4 to 5 OTF members, right? This was like back in November or something. And then the next day, they grabbed Lil Durk when he was about to board a plane. After they had those OTF members and Lil Durk in custody, they then unsealed a separate indictment that wasn't charged, because this case right here, this murder for hire, is charged in California. Okay, it's a California case, or that's where it's being tried out of, right? It's the Central District of California. After they were in custody, they unsealed a different indictment, which was for a shooting in Chicago. Like, if you want to go pull up that paperwork, you have to go to a totally different court district. Okay. Lil Durk was never in that paperwork. He was never in that paperwork. The thing that Lil Durk's speculation to all of us that used our minds at that time, he was always named in there as a co-conspirator one. There was never a name that said Lil Durk in any of that paperwork. Remember what that paperwork was, right, people? That was an alleged murder for hire shooting that was supposedly in retaliation for his brother D thing, right? For all my Chicago heads that might join the chat, or my Chicago people that might watch this video or this stream, that's where lyrics like all the dump street disses and all that shit coming, right? You know, catch a nigga on the dump, I'm a slump and dump all y'all, all of that. Okay, the war with the alleged dump street guys. Okay, that was some hood shit. That wasn't no King Von, Sly Vaughn stuff. That was some hood shit. Okay, allegedly. So there's video that we saw, there's pictures that we saw. We went through that whole indictment where you had I believe Stephen Mack. He was at the youth center. I believe he was working there, and when he exited, two guys got on his heels, right? You saw one guy with a rifle track him down. There was a separate shootout that happened there as well with the security guard that worked there. Very spooky, scary situation. They got footage of one of the alleged shooters running down the block. They found one of the guns that was allegedly tossed. It was just a lot going on, man. But that was allegedly over Lil Durk's brother D thing, a retaliation murder for hire, allegedly. Now, the most recent update that came out of that case, this is one that we brought up a couple weeks ago too, was they had a snitch. In that case, not the Beverly Hills, Sly Vaughn, Quando Rondo's cousin stuff, the Chicago situation. They had a snitch. Who was a snitch? So you got the two alleged shooters, right, in that Chicago situation, okay? Allegedly, the paperwork said it. They had a snitch, a government working informant in the cell with one of the shooters talking about the alleged murder for hire. And that indictment that we read, the actual court paperwork in that Illinois paperwork in that trial says CHS1, confidential human source 1. And they were discussing the likes of the well-known Chicago rapper that paid for, you know what I'm saying? And that's where we just like, look, well-known Chicago rapper. Who we talk about? Kanye West. Is Kanye West related to D thing and like, you know what I'm saying? So we have to apply some common sense and some logic here when we see certain things, and they unsealed it right after Lil Durk was apprehended and put in custody for the California shooting. So we wasn't off track there. Nobody was reaching, right? And that's why it's even being discussed by Lil Durk's lawyers now that he won't be charged for that. Because when they said co-conspirator 1, we knew it was Lil Durk. You didn't have to tell us that. Same thing in the Diddy trial. You could say witness 1, whatever, defendant 1. They said it for fucking months, and we was just like, all right, you have the nerve to put in the paperwork defendant 1 who was kicked, dragged in this hotel in California, whatever, and then Diddy then throws a vase at her. We're like, why don't you just say Cassie Ventura? Like, that's the same thing that happened here. Okay, now let's continue. Despite the snitch in that case, despite those guys not even getting the trial yet, all right, they're still fighting that case, the two shooters in that situation. Lil Durk's name has never directly come up. So all of these updates that's going around the internet, including this one that we have here up on the screen, they're all based on what he's proposing, his legal team is proposing en route to his bail hearing, which is today. So let's pull up the first article from that. So this is all the recent paperwork for folks. All right. You got United States District Court, Central District of California, once again, United States versus Dirk Banks. Why didn't they put his aliases here? Every time we pull up all of his paperwork, right? It's got blood and his Muslim name, and never had Durkio or nothing. But all of a sudden, they only want to have his first and last name. Okay. Defendant Dirk Banks reply in support of his application for review, reconsideration of detention order, reconsideration. This once again the third attempt that they're going for bail. Okay. Defendant Dirk Banks through his attorneys, Drew Finland. We've seen this guy moving around a lot before. He's very popular with hip hop artists, takes on a lot of hip hop artist cases. And then he's got the rest of his legal team being laid out. Hereby files this reply in support of his application for review, reconsideration of detention order. Okay. Now let's skip down a little bit. Let's take a look at this memorandum of points and authorities introduction. All right. This is I think we got here some of his actual current bail package. So for his part, Mr. Banks offers an enhanced bond package. So they've upped it again. That demonstrates a vested interest of appearing for trial. 4.5 million in cash, including 3 million of his own money and 1 million from Alamo Records. That even put somebody else on record, right? As a cosign, right? You can't run neither. Okay. And $700,000 of equity in his mother's home. 4.5 plus 1 plus 7. You guys do the math. It's a lot of money that's going up there. He volunteers to be confined to his home with his wife and children, surveilled around the clock by a reputable security company that will report directly to the court. Now, we read that paperwork. That was crazy. They did an amazing job with the security detail that was actually, he would be proposing to be assigned to him while he's out on bail, that they would basically snitch on Dirk, that you're not here working for Dirk, you work for the court. They would surveil who comes, who goes. They would keep a visiting list, watch his phone calls, suspicious behavior, video surveillance, everything. And the way it was laid out by the security company, I was like, damn, like very, very, very well done. But once again, he wasn't being denied because, oh, this $5 million isn't enough. Oh, the security presentation doesn't look like they're really going to make sure you don't get in trouble or do something stupid. It wasn't about the bail package that was being put up. It was because of the phone stuff and the charges of being murder for hire, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But let's continue. Let's continue. All right, argument. Mr. Banks is neither a danger to the community nor a flight risk and should be released on conditions. Little to no weight should be placed on the unreliable allegations put forward in the government's papers. All right. General. The government's reliance on unsubstantiated allegations from the Chicago case is misplaced and does not square with government's position in that case. Now, here we are now getting into what we finally was discussing and why you see the title that I have, why you see the thumbnail that I have, and why we started off with an article like that, because there's a difference, people. We have to remember this. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a judge. I never worked in any lane legally. I'm learning like the rest of us, and we read, and then we interpret with common sense and logic. This is a filing from Lil Durk's defense going for bail. Okay? They're going for bail. This is not this. Once again, the Chicago case hasn't even gotten to trial yet. Okay, hasn't even, and I'm going to show you just bear with me. I'm going to show you why these titles are coming out or going across the internet. But that case hasn't even gone to trial yet. There is no judge that said, hey, by the way, I just want to let you guys over in California know, for whatever federal case you got going on with Lil Durk, us over here in Chicago, just want to let you know, we're not charging Lil Durk. That's not what happened. There was no court order. There was no judgment. There was no decision, right? This is his legal team writing this. Dirk's legal team writing this, okay? Now, let's continue. The government repeatedly cites to allegations from federal case in Illinois, where Mr. Banks has never been charged. That is accurate, and never will be charged. That is speculation. Well, it's not speculation from his legal team. I'm trying not to do the spoiler when we get there. Once again, bear with me. I'm gonna show y'all. All right, it's not really speculation, but his lawyers being a little aggressive and saying never will be charged. Despite the passage of over 3 years since the underlying indictment, the government's own exhibit reveals that the allegations pertaining to Mr. Banks are based primarily on information from a cooperating human source. Once again, that's what I mentioned, the CH1. That's the snitch that's in one of the jail cells with one of the shooters from Chicago, alleged shooters. Described in the affidavit as a paid FBI informant and former gang member with criminal history. So do you see what they just did right there with the criminal history? That's how people always, the lawyers, they'll undermine somebody's credibility, right? He's a criminal. Can't believe anything he's going to say. It's a very common tactic. Most importantly, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Illinois has confirmed that they do not plan to supersede the charges there to indict Mr. Banks in connection with the ongoing case in United States versus Anthony Montgomery, alleged shooter one, Wilson, and Preston Powell, alleged shooter two from Chicago, and the alleged murder for hire retaliation of Durk's brother D thing. Okay. And then you see some exhibits. Let's see if there's anything else relevant in here. There is, and I'm going to start jumping to the exhibits filed with this. The flight risk, right? They got to attack that. The very first time they went for bond, government responded that they didn't even mention that. Durk's team, they came and they asked us to give us some. They asked to put up a bail package, some money, yada yada yada. One thing they never spoke about was the fact that we grabbed him on the way to hopping on a plane, right? Ever since then, Drew Finland and Durk's team, they continue to mention that he's not a flight risk and give details about that, as they should. Once again, this is like his third attempt. So Mr. Banks' travel to Dubai is consistent with his international travel history. Okay, so they have, once again, receipts to show, these were connected flights that he was taking for his religious beliefs and, his normal personal life as well as works. Right. So that Dubai trip, he wasn't running. It was all a coincidence. Okay. Tough coincidence, but still, this is Durk's team doing what they're supposed to be doing. Violations of MDC's phone rules have little bearing on dangerous or risk of flight. That I'm going to get to that paperwork, which is separate. That comes out of Chicago. That is not a part of this particular paperwork here. Mr. Banks' enhanced bond package. So we saw the numbers. Okay. And in conclusion, they're putting Mr. Banks' enhanced bond package adequately addresses any legitimate concerns about flight risk or public safety. For the reasons, this court should grant Mr. Banks' application and set reasonable conditions that will ensure his appearance at trial while allowing him to assist in his defense and maintain his family and professional obligation. Well, I will tell you this. Once again, we ain't judges over here. Sorry, it's true. But does any of us think that, like, if you give Diddy bond, it's too late now, he's at trial. But if you would have gave him bond that he was going to run, no. Nobody thought that he was fitting to go change his face and go to Bali or some shit like that, or try to find some non-extraditing country, go to Russia the way that Steven Seagal did, allegedly. No, nobody thought Diddy was going to do that. Do we think Lil Durk wants to do that? No. Nobody thinks that Lil Durk is trying to go do the race. I find it hard to believe. If you're TK, I met TK. I kind of knew some of his songs at first, but I ain't nobody paying attention to no damn TK. TK could walk in the supermarket in Bali and nobody's gonna give a fuck or no, right? Diddy and Lil Durk these are international worldly icons and household name. Diddy's a household name. Lil Durk has toured the globe at this point. There's features and big smash hits, charting songs with Drake, and Lil Durk is not going anywhere, man. He's not going anywhere. And so I don't believe that you give this man or you deny this man bond because you think like, oh, he's gonna put up this $6+ million and he's just gonna turn to a ghost. We're never gonna see him again. I don't believe that with this particular case or with him. I think that, like anybody else, people want to be out. Hell, R. Kelly used his being out on bond allegedly, tactically. R. Kelly got a bond And R. Kelly was outside doing shows and dropping music and smash charting hits still and getting features with some of our favorites while the video and the allegations was still out already. Y'all was still featuring with R. Kelly, probably like the Ja Rules and the Fat Joes or whoever, still featuring with him, right? And us in the public eating it all up. Ooh, R. Kelly's new hit. Did you hear that? Did you see that new song, Boom Boom, that he dropped? Oh, his new album's coming out. And then by the time his trial came up 20 years later, it was all damn near watered down. Some forgotten. Some people paid off. Some people not as said anymore. Jurors probably feel different towards R. Kelly at this point. All of this shit. Did he do any? Was it like Graham? He did some mega shit. He did a big show. I don't know if it was Oscars or Grammys or something. But anyway, while he was out, and I think his team just kept pushing off the trial, just pushing it off. Just pushing it off, delay the shit. Like we'll go to court 3 years from now. Fuck it. Like so I don't think that Dirk is trying to make bonds so that he can get out and run. He wants to be outside opposed to in there like any other fucking human being. Okay, let's keep moving. Let's pull up now. What do we got? What do I got for you? This is an exhibit tied to that filing that his team just did. Exhibit 1. Okay. Now, this is an exhibit, and this is the paperwork from the Chicago case of why his team is saying what they're saying in regards to he's not being charged, or the attorneys and the prosecution in Chicago, they decided he's not being charged. Now, I question that slightly. I think that's a little aggressive, but I understand why they did it. All right, let's go through it. United States versus Anthony Montgomery Wilson, aka AJ, and as well as Preston Powell, also known as Marley, allegedly the two shooters for the murder for hire for D-Thing, right? The murder of Stephen Mack. Okay. All right. Appearances for the government. So these are just some of the names we might read real quick, right? And for the defendant, Montgomery Wilson, we see this person. I assume that's his lawyer. For this defendant, Powell, the second person, we see this lawyer. All right. So if you see any of these names, that's what's going on, because we're about to get into a question and an answer. Court reporter. Okay, cool. All right. So the clerk, this case number 23, United States versus Anthony Montgomery Wilson and Preston Powell. May I please ask the attorney present on behalf of the United States to state their name? Okay, Mr. Julian. Good morning, Your Honor. Jason Julian for the United States, and then the clerk. On behalf of Mr. Montgomery Wilson, Mr. Spielfogel. Good morning, Your Honor. Keith Spielfogel and Daryl Goldberg on behalf of Mr. Montgomery / Wilson. So you're not going to hear from any of the shooters, the alleged shooters in this. When we see these names going back and forth on this question and answer, this is their attorneys appearing on their behalf. Okay. So it looks like they didn't even have to. I don't know if they're sitting there, but they may not have even had to appear for this particular court date. All right, let's get down to some of the important stuff. Where is it? Where is it? Okay, and do you expect this is it here? All right, so let me come a little bit further back, right here. All right, Miss Blaine, yes, I have her trial calendar, and a lot of this too in this paperwork, people, is them discussing for a little bit more context of why we're skipping some of this. Them setting a trial date. All right, that's why I said prior. They didn't even go to trial yet, people. All right, this is them going back and forth, both sides, the prosecution and the defense attorneys aligning, being cordial. Okay, how about this date? How about this month? Should we go? Is all the evidence collected? How did we do in discovery? Was any fussing in discovery? Is both sides happy? It's all of that crap in this paperwork. Okay. Well, this is a murder case. It was death penalty eligible. Has the government made a decision on whether they're going to seek the death penalty? Mr. Julian, we are still working on it, Your Honor, but I think we should proceed as if we are not going to do that. There's one more thing. Why would they say that? I'll take a guess. Because, hey, you government, man. You government. Y'all some mother. The judge's going to ask y'all, what's up with the death penalty? Are y'all still seeking that? We're still working on it, but we should proceed in the meantime. What do you mean still working on it? Like it's a waitress coming up to you, talk about you still working on this. Now I'm still eating. Like you need a box. What do you mean still working on it? It's a death penalty. Yes or no? It's a murder. Why would the government do some shit like that? So, total sidebar. That just caught me off guard. I'm sorry. probably for a fucking bargaining chip over a man's life. Over a man's life. You get to a certain point, if a plea deal gets put on the table, what can you say to one of the alleged shooters? Well, how about this? You just take this and we'll take off the death penalty. We'll scratch that. And then just take this 15 years probation, eligible after 8 years, yada, yada, yada. Take this deal. And think about it, people. God forbid you're in those shoes. That's something you're going to pay attention to. This is a death penalty eligible case. And now here goes, the U.S. attorney side, the prosecution side, coming to me with a deal, and they're going to remove the possibility that y'all might kill me behind this shit. Y'all might put me on death row behind this shit. Sounds like a bargaining chip move that they just said. But anyway, there's one more thing we need to do, and then we'll file what we need to file. The court, okay. And do you expect a superseding indictment in this case? Mr. Julian says, no, Your Honor. The court, how long a trial would it be? Mr. Julian, I think 2 weeks is generous. Let's go back up real quick once again. Who is Mr. Julian? Who's Mr. Julian? Where's Mr. Julian? Where's Julian at? Julian right here for the government, okay? All right, prosecution. See this Jason A. Julian? All right, he's representing the government in this in the court period, but also in this moment in the court for this particular update or appearance. All right, so that's what people are going on. To me, it's funny that we pointed out for a total separate reason of me being sarcastic over, are you still going for death penalty? We're still working on it. It's no different than an answer like this one right here. This is why I said earlier in the stream, people, we just got to read sometimes. We can't just, I see the post out there about Lil Durk's update, but let's actually read it. It's no different. This is not a ruling. This is not a closed case. This is not a verdict. This is the court asking Julian, do you expect a superseding indictment? And they said, no, Your Honor. And that's cool. We said, no. Now, if it stays there, what's the relevance now, people? Let's tie this in. The reason that makes sense for now, if I'm Durk's defense, to use that as an exhibit in my bail proposal is because the indictment at hand for the 2 alleged shooters in Chicago never says Durk Banks, aka Lil Durk, aka Durkio, aka Blood, aka nothing. It says co-conspirator 1. Okay? Now we've seen that a bunch of times. We gave the example earlier of victim 1, Cassie. Tell me it's victim 1 forever. But then you got the trial, and at trial, Cassie's name started fucking getting said. All the way up until the start of the trial, y'all wanted to call her victim 1. We laughed about it for weeks. So I'm trying to show y'all, we got to slow down with some of those titles. This is the only take doing this shit for this Lil Durk update. This is the only take on the internet doing this right now. I promise you. Anything that comes after this, got to hit. I promise you. So it's saying we don't plan to. So that indictment is still co-conspirator 1, which everybody believes is Cassie, is Lil Durk, but he has yet to be named yet. Now we see these superseding indictments come where it's like, all right, now Durk Banks, now this person. They haven't done that. And they may not do that, but they don't even have a trial date. They didn't even get the trial yet. So for Durk and Durk's fans and for Durk's family, you hope that this stands true. Oh, we're not sure about seeking the death penalty. That's just an example. What about superseding indictment? Oh, right now, no. You hope it stays there. And it's just co-conspirator 1 and never gets formally changed to Lil Durk, and he officially gets charged. But even then, lawyers that watch this podcast, right, help me out with this question, legitimate question. God forbid for Lil Durk and his family, what happens if this trial happens before his California case over Quando Rondo's cousin, right? And if he is named the same way they went from victim 1 to Cassie in the damn trial, because they have a fucking informant that's in the cell with one of the shooters saying, the rapper from Chicago paid us. So you see what I'm saying? What happens if Little Durk's name starts getting said? Can it be a situation like with, let's say, dude that was convicted over XXX Tentacion's shooting, and then started saying, wait, I want to go call on Drake. I want him brought in here, and then he could avoid that subpoena. I don't know if Little Durk is avoiding any subpoenas. He's in custody. But what? All right, people. That's why these headlines are coming out, because a superseding indictment would be expecting to. Every superseding indictment has changes. All right. They fucked him over with the last superseding indictment because he was attacking the grand jury evidence, saying that these lyrics wasn't by me. What did the government do? They took the lyrics out of the superseding indictment. So okay, we're changing course, we're rerouting. You don't got that argument no more. It's, oh shit, dirty play. One for the government, one up on the government. You don't know what's gonna happen here. All right. So we will pay attention to that. Now let's just continue with where we stand, Dirk case, Dirk trial wise. This is all updated stuff, all new stuff. So this one is his motion for dismissal. Okay. Defendant Dirk Banks' motion to dismiss superseding indictment based on false and or misleading grand jury evidence. They're going for dismissal again. This one went in the 18th. Right. So we saw this. This isn't filed here as an exhibit, but you see once again his lawyer here, True Finling. I don't think that any of this is too new, but understand there's two threads that he's going after: the bond, and he's still going after the dismissal based on the grand jury evidence that went in. Introduction, background, the original indictment, the superseding indictment, the underlying falsehood, the argument. Okay, so, and then the conclusion at the end. Obviously, here's the references. Memorandum of points and authorities introduction. The government presented false evidence to the grand jury that indicted Mr. Banks on November 7, 2024. The plain language of the superseding indictment makes it apparent that the government told the grand jury that Mr. Banks, through specific lyrics in his music, celebrated and profited from a revenge murder that he had ordered, namely the SR, in August of 2022. That claim is demonstrably false. The song the government relied upon as evidence against Mr. Banks, Wonderful Wayne and Jackie Boy, a song that was recorded by another artist, Babyface Ray, and on which Mr. Banks recorded a feature for, could not have been a commercialization of Mr. Banks' alleged murder for hire of SR as the government represented to the grand jury. Okay. So we know some of that already, right? We know some of that. We don't need Dirk's background there. We know who he is. The issue over the timing of Mr. Banks' recording. Once again, they're saying all that. Knowing all that was added by the internet producers, later on. All right. So we saw that the original indictment. They're going to go over the superseding indictment next. These are all the details that I feel like we know already. Following the attempted murder of TB and murder SR, defendant Banks sought to commercialize SR's death by rapping about his revenge on TB. He raps about a lot of shootings, though, allegedly, but you guys are doing good attacking this one. That was such a sarcastic addition that I probably didn't have to put for Lil Durk fans, and I'm a Lil Durk fan too, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Told me to Addy go, got location go, green light go, 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 go. Look on the news and see your son screaming, no, pussy. Fire song once again. The underlying falsehood. They did present a bunch of exhibits and evidence. They got the engineer, they got the feature speaking out for him. So that was very good. Argument to superseding indictment still. Okay, the court has the power to dismiss the indictment that the grand jury returned based on information that the government knew at the time to be or later learned to have been false. Now, quick, before we jump off the dismissal, and then we got two other pieces that we're going to get into. I wonder if you could prove this. I just like to stay objective on both sides, whether you're the prosecution side or the defense side. That's our job up here, people. If we're going to read this, let's try to do the best we can. Can you prove that? How do you say that the government knew that the information was false? Now, I'm not trying to say that the government is clean. Motherfuckers play a dirty ass game. But what if they just came out and said, "Yeah, our bad"? That would sound fucked up. What do you mean, my bad? You indicted me. What do you mean, you're bad? You shoot somebody in the leg on accident. It's my bad. What you mean, no, my bad? Can't say my bad for that. But real shit, think about it. What if the government just stood up and said to the court in response to the dismissal, like, no, we didn't know that there was allegedly, a recording of the song that we put in our original indictment from January, and then allegedly the shooting happened in October. No, we didn't know that. We didn't know that at the time of presenting that to the grand jury, which is why when we did find that out, we submitted a superseding indictment and we took the lyrics out. What if they just stand up and say that? And then it's just like, all right, we're not here and we're not trying to prove this conviction based on lyrics. We're trying to prove this conviction based on all the other evidence that we're discussing: the flights, the slide for Vaughn motive, you being in California at the time, the other OTF members that were arrested, the text messages, the card swiping for the ski mask, and all that type of stuff. Like, and God knows if something happens during Brick Baby's case, like we're here for all of these reasons to believe that this was an alleged murder for hire, right? The academics interview, like, you still be hearing them rumors? You still be hearing the Slav Avant hashtag? No? All right, we different in the rap. We're using all of that. I don't care about the song anymore where he's saying green light go. What if the government just stands up and says that? That's very likely. But, I guess the Drew Finlands in the world, though, what they're attacking is not all the other stuff to say, like, oh, that's automatically irrelevant because the lyrics were tossed. No, I think what they're attacking is just the process, saying step two is not supposed to happen if step one, which is that grand jury, is not done correctly, right? But how do you prove that the government knew that they were submitting false information to the grand jury? That's a question that I have. Okay. All right, let's continue. Let's continue. Let's continue. This is a little Durk stream, y'all. I saw those headlines, people, and we getting in the weeds with it. We're trying to do off. This is when they say do your due diligence. This is what we expect people to do on the internet. All right. Not jump out these windows, people. We got a lot of Durk fans that, just like Larry Hoover, got people on the internet crying, Larry Hoover's home. You saw King Yeller? There's a King Yeller. Larry, sit your stupid ass. You look goofy as shit. No, he's not. He's not free. Go do your due diligence, and you have more reason than any of us to go figure the shit out, right? That's your God, right? We just podcasters on the side. I don't got no fucking affiliation to GDs or BDs. You the one that wants to do a celebration dance. Go find out if he's really fucking free or not. No, stupid. This is what we expect from people, and I ain't perfect, but I'm gonna do some due diligence for y'all. I promise. All right, exhibit one. What do we got here? This is us staying on. Yeah, this was showing exhibits that they filed along with the dismissal. Okay, so a declaration of Justin Gibson, right? This is going over the song when it was recorded. You see this on January 25th, 2022. We did see this already. Exhibit 2. I just want to make sure that we flushed out for anybody that missed out or needs to be caught up as it relates to the dismissal. Okay, declaration of Ahmad Sharif is at the engineer. CEO, founder of World Music Incorporated, based primarily out of Detroit, Michigan. So this is Durk having people, write statements under oath in his defense of that song and that evidence. And Pete even got some references here at the bottom. YouTube short here. There's 2 shorts here. They're like, man, we ain't had nothing to do with that shit that came out. I'm telling y'all, all the government got to do is stand up and say, we don't care about the lyrics anymore. Now what? All right. And last but not least, let's pull this up to make sure we are fully up to date where Lil Durk is with his case. All right. Exhibit 2. What do we got here? United States District Court, Central Cali. What do we got here? Statement of expertise. I previously worked with the federal. All right. So this is the BOP, Federal Bureau of Prisons. This is when we saw BOP in the initial article or Instagram post that we see that kicked off a lot of this news across the internet. This is this person now speaking up as far as status when it relates to the phone calls. Okay. The phone calls was a big thing about him getting his last bail denied. Is he doing three-way calls? Is he doing phone calls that are against prison rules? This is a big piece right here. All right. Because I think once again, he's up for bond again today. I previously worked on the Federal Bureau of Prisoners or Prisons, I'm sorry, the BOP for 21 years. After retiring from the BOP, I founded Carolina Recovery and Reentry Consultants LLC. I have worked with federal offenders for over 20 years and assessed the needs of persons related to addiction, social services, and the justice system for over 30 years. So this is an experienced person. We get it. Super tapped in, know what's going on. Cool. Scope of declaration. I was contacted by Drew Finling. This is Durk's attorney. Okay. I was contacted by Drew Finling. They're doing some work over there. You got to give it to Durk's legal representation thus far. They're working. An attorney representing Durk Banks, Mr. Finland's requested this document for my opinion of the disciplinary infractions involving the use of a prison telephone to make unsanctioned calls. This declaration provides overview of Bureau of Prisons, disciplinary policy, specific policy regarding illegal calls, review of the incident, reports on banks, offer an opinion on the severity of banks violations, offer an opinion on what calls are referenced to the FBI and which are handled internally. Once again, prison versus escalating to the FBI people. Okay. There's a word in there for a reason, right? Handle shit. Conclusion that while this was a violation, inmates often circumvent for reasons that are personal in nature and not criminally motivated. One easy or common way to remedy this would be to temporarily suspend banks' phone privileges, which BOP may have already done. So this BOP person that Drew Finland reached out to and said, "Hey, I need a write up for you. I need an investigation for you. I need expert opinion from you." Right? Think about even that last conclusion piece. What type of discipline? Bail denial? Well, was he on the phone talking about witness tampering and shit? Well, let's get there. Institution, adjustment, disciplinary infractions. The BOP gets guidance. So we understand that. High severity incident reports would include fighting, extortion, bribery, and threatening conduct. Moderate severity level misconduct may be for refusal to obey an order. Yeah, this is all kind of like just what type of punishments go hand in hand with what type of shit that's going down in jail every day or prison every day. Mr. Banks' alleged infractions. Okay. Detainees are provided access to phone and, in some cases, email when the detainee is at a BOP facility. MDC Los Angeles is a BOP facility used to house those awaiting trial who have a hearing at the federal courthouse or have been sentenced to a term of incarceration and are awaiting designation. Detainees are given phone access, code number, PAC number, which is a unique everyday detainee. The detainee must compile a list of those with whom he or she will correspond, and only those approved by the BOP can be on that list. Okay. So those that three-way call or whatever with academics and Loose Cannon's wife that was on there for no fucking reason. I'm pretty sure that's not approved on his list, right? And I think they may have used that against him. But there was talk, and I think that there was kind of a rebuttal from Durk's side. Like, Durk didn't know what was going on. You know, he took a phone call. They happened to turn it into content. This fucking girl is on there too, or whatever. That Durk. That's why when she asked that question, so are you closer to your family now that you've been incarcerated? And Durk, remember his answer on that? He was just like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "Well, I guess are you locked up? Did that make you closer to your brothers and your mothers and your fathers now?" And he's like, "I've always been close to them. I don't know. I don't understand the question." It's like, why is she here? Because academics is fucking doing content. That's why. Then that stupid ass piece of content, they're using it against Dirt. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I was not provided with a copy of the incident report and relied upon the notes report provided by Special Agent Sarah in March 2025. FBI Special Agent stated in her report that Mr. Banks placed several calls from an inmate phone system at MDC Los Angeles using the PAC numbers of other inmates to contact his own family members. So he's got his number to use to dial out, and other people is giving him some of their phone time or some of their rights. Okay, of the other prisoners, allegedly. The infractions described by Special Agent, I don't care about pronouncing his last name, would be violations of the phone privileges of the institution. Again, I have not seen the incident reports, and I'm going off of the agent's report. There are 3 possible disciplinary infractions that the BOP could impose on Mr. Banks, depending on the level of severity. The BOP uses codes with an associated description to define the infraction and to determine the disciplinary action. In this case, I believe the appropriate infraction is either Code 397, which is defined by the BOP as use of the telephone for abuses other than illegal activity, which do not circumvent the ability of staff to monitor frequency of telephone use, content of the call, or number of calls, or to commit or further of moderate category prohibited act, or Code 328, which is defined by the BOP as giving money or anything of value to, or accepting money or anything of value from another inmate or any other person without staff authorization. So this write-up is that his phone infractions was light. We don't got him on there doing nothing crazy. It's a rule in there that you're not supposed to say, "Hey man, let me go ahead and give you $20 to put on your books so I could use your code to make a phone call." That's a rule. You're not supposed to be able to do that. Allegedly, he did that. Okay, but some of the repercussions, what I care about, the violation described by Special Agent would, in my opinion, and based on the information I reviewed, be a moderate level prohibited act, abuse, or Code 328, giving or receiving something of value. BOP policy states that sanctions for such violations could include the following. Here we go. Recommend parole date, recession or retardation. Okay, so if you happen to have a parole date set, you're coming up on, get your ass put back on the street, you push it back. We're going to add another month to you sitting here because you violated this phone rule, right? Something like that. B, forfeit and or withhold earned statutory good time or non-vested good conduct time up to 25% or up to 30 days, whichever is less. Okay, once again, you could have more time added onto your sentence or push back your parole date. And or terminate or disallow extra good time. So it's time that you may have earned that they may take off. All right. You're coming up, you were sentenced to 5 years, you did 4 years, and the last year's things that you've earned with good time by doing programs and getting your GD or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Good time, right? And reducing some of that, taking some of that back from you would be one of the repercussions, or could be. All right. B1, disallow ordinarily up to 25%, 1 to 14 days of good conduct time credit available for a year. A good conduct time sanction may not be suspended. Okay. C, disciplinary segregation up to 3 months. Yeah, you can't hang around everybody for a second now. Gotta be put off to the side somewhere. Hopefully not the whole, right? Not for something like that. Jesus. Make monetary restitution. You got to pay up. Monetary fine, a fine. Loss of privileges, visiting, telephone, commissary, movies, recreation, all those things of which they would take from you, possibly. Okay, change housing. You're comfortable here on deck A. We're gonna move you over here to this house or whatever. Put you over there with your ops now. God forbid. Remove from program and or activity. Loss of job. What if you had a nice job? Right, earning money in there. You had a preferable job. All right. Some jobs is in there shitty. Some is the ones that they feel like you're lucky to have. Impound inmates' personal property. All right. Take these posters off the wall. Confiscate contraband. Well, I assume that they would want to do that anyway because it's contraband. Restrict the quarters. You're not allowed out to the yard. And extra duty. Mop this twice instead of once. Right. All I did was try to fucking give examples of all these different types but none of them are extreme as no more bail attempts for you, no more bond for you. None of them. All right. So that pretty much sums it up. We could read the conclusion real quick. Based on the information I reviewed, these infractions did violate BOP policy. I believe these could have been remedied with a disciplinary hearing explaining the seriousness of the infraction and imposing a sanction for loss of privileges. Steps such as these have been used in the past, and inmates are typically responsive to the punishment. So, yeah, if he did these calls, give him a hearing date, let him sit in front of the judge, explain to him why that's so bad. You can't do it, and that's a big deal for us. Don't ever pull that shit again. And maybe give you also this little side punishment to constitute it as well. But did he even have a hearing behind it? Or did you just grab that and take that to his fucking indictment? You know, like, I have reviewed many disciplinary reports for inmates over my years and have also cited inmates for violations as part of my job. While while a phone violation can be very serious incident, the report I reviewed did not indicate that there was anything of serious nature discussed on the calls. Yeah, once again, we saw one of the calls, right? The academics interview. As Mr. Banks is a detainee, I do not see such an infraction being an indicator of future deviant behavior, but one that could have been properly dispensed with common disciplinary measures. I declare under penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct. Okay? So, you know me, y'all. I'm never going to report unless I'm in a, y'all know when I'm in a mode. Y'all know when I'm ranting or whatever. But when we trying to break down paperwork, or when we trying to look at something objectively, like Diddy's trial or Dirk's case, one side, I'm gonna tell y'all, don't take me like a fucking fool in regards to, all right, this song, but what about Beverly Hills? What about Schoolman's Ass? What about this video? What about this song? What about that interview with academics? Don't take me for a fool, Drew Finley. I know you will, from a defense standpoint, but don't take me like a fool. But then, out of fairness, I'll hop right on the other side and say, listen, if the AUSA, if one of their main pushes to stunting this man's ability to get a bond is the phone calls, look at what we just read. You guys didn't even take the common practice to alleviate him breaking the rule of maybe using another inmate's numbers to make a phone call, right? You guys want to take that and move it to this level of extreme when all you have to do is do something like take them to a hearing, say, hey, we're going to take away this good time served. We're going to take away your ability to go to commissary for a week. We're going to separate you from the rest of the population for 2 weeks. Shit like that. You guys didn't try to do none of that. Once again, the prison has a fucking warden for a reason. Don't take this prison situation, infraction on a phone, and try to move it into his federal indictment bond procedure. It doesn't seem fair to me. It doesn't, which is why Drew Finland did a great job and went and got this write-up done. Okay. All right. Shout out to the chat. Did I miss any supers on the way? Shout out to KX, man. KX, one of our members in the building, said he gifted a membership to somebody. Hope somebody caught that in the chat. Shout out to KX, man. I appreciate you. Once again, I was away for a couple days. I had a little mini vacation, so close by. Very, very short flight. Hung out with some friends. Hung out with Dr. God and family. He rented a nice little yacht for us Saturday, out on the water for half the day. It was beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Had a little adults night. We was hanging out, kicking back at the crib. We had the game on, playing pool, music, food, all that. It was nice. Speaking of the game, bye, Knicks. Sorry. Sorry, Knicks fans. It's always next year. Maybe there's always next fucking millennium. Like, y'all do it all the time. Y'all get y'all shit all hyped up for what? It's like the law of the land for the Knicks. There's always something going on that makes y'all feel like this is our time now. It's the definition of insanity. It really is, by definition, textbook insanity with you Knicks fans, man. I get it. Jalen Brunson is playing at an all-time high, and he's so clutch, and he's break. That's beautiful. It's not a championship contention team. It's just not. Whatever. We'll get more to the. Well, we can't say the playoffs. We'll just say the finals. We'll get more to the finals later. I mean, a lot of people are already predicting OKC for this, but yeah, I was away for a couple days, people. So my bad if y'all are making me apologize for not being home for a couple days, but I'm sorry. I'm gonna try to come back this afternoon. I saw the Diddy updates, the Mia stuff, and all that. While I was outside, I was keeping up. And I may get back to that and just not only catch up with that stuff, but also include today's updates from court. I might do that. And I got a bunch of other stuff I got to get to. I can't wait to talk about the Zion situation. All right. Can't wait to talk about that. I'm itching to do that shit right now, but I'm going to chill. And a couple of topics we got to catch up with, even in battle rap too. Listen, I keep my eyes on everything, and shout out to Checks and Balances. I got to hop in that war room and catch up. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of stuff going on in there that we need to discuss too, people. So I will be back ASAP. I appreciate y'all this morning. We didn't do a full episode because I wanted to be specific. We're doing basically an hour here on the Lil Durk update. I hope that was a very, very detailed breakdown for y'all. And y'all will be getting more of those. For anybody that's still hanging around the stream right now, y'all will be getting more of those, where it'll be some of the mornings that are not full episodes. There'll be specifics. I might wake up and say, listen, man, this Diddy trial, day 22 was so crazy. We're just going to wake up and do this. We're not going to do 5 topics this morning. The weekends, I think I'm always going to keep like that, though. The full episodes, all out. We're doing like 5, 6, 7 different topics, bringing up the DVDs, the music, chopping. I'm rocking with the chat, answering everybody's questions. Weekends. During the week, things move a little bit too fast. I don't know. I like honing in on. We'll do both. We'll see. But I just want to make sure y'all are aware of why we didn't do a full multi-topic episode today. And instead, we only did the Lil Durk update because I felt it was so significant. And that's a big case. It's a huge case. Right. And we've been covering it since it started. So I want to catch up on that. But all right, we'll be back, y'all. I got y'all. It's your boy.
Don't confuse silence with work ethic. I'm a boss making decisions, my first fetish. The verse cherished is perfect, that's a reverse blemish. I dropped it, connected the block, learn Tetris.
This is the Sorry It's True podcast. Welcome to the house of and shout out to the members.